Well, greetings and salutations, test takers. This is the Series 7 Guru coming to you from my off-grid studio, getting our kicks on historic Route 66 with our always very special VIP guest, Brian Lee, the test geek himself. We'll take care of some housekeeping. Then we'll answer any content questions we can answer for you. Had a little technical glitch, so I don't know if you found us or not found us, but apparently when I scheduled it for last week. Last minute, I kind of pulled it out of my ass, and hopefully I was able to get this going. So tell us what exam series exam you're taking, where you're joining us from. And like I said, we'll get care of some housekeeping, and we'll get busy answering some content questions. If you're looking for a free supplement to your paid study materials, there is nothing better than my YouTube channel. It's completely free. I've organized that channel based on series playlists. So if you're taking the 66, for example, there's 4 playlists. The first playlist is a podcast overview that Brian and I did of the 66 to give you kind of a lay of the land, the terrain, what it all looks like start to finish. Then there's lectures, there's practice exams, there's podcasts. So that's the way to attack it if you want to binge. If you're looking for a particular topic, please use the channel search bar. You know, it's okay. Brian and I are going to answer questions this evening that we've been asked and answered many times and live forever in video form. It's okay. But if you put in accrued interest or margin or whatever it is in the channel search bar, all those videos will come up. So use that channel search bar. If you're looking for a paid supplement to your primary study materials, there's nothing better than a Kaplan Q Bank. You don't have a Kaplan Q Bank, I highly recommend it. With my Guru Discount 15 code at checkout for the Series 7, you get over 3,600 performance opportunities, a performance tracker. It's best in class. That discount code works with all Kaplan products and services. Not all discount codes are alike. There are other 15% discount codes, and don't fall for a breakpoint sale. I have competitors who say, oh, here's one. This is LPL's 15%. I won't get into whether you're an LPL person or not. If it is, hey, use the discount code. But what it doesn't come with is access to my paid office hours. I charge $425 an hour. If you're the only one who shows up for that, it ends up being a tutoring session. So again, just keep that in mind if somebody's offering you some other discount code as it relates to Kaplan. I make that same deal with Brian. Brian's been kind enough to give us a 20% discount code on his content. If you're looking for a bridge from your paid study materials, the actual test, if you're looking for distillation, I like bourbon. Brian is a master distiller of distillation of that information. Feel free to reach out to him. All his videos, his PDF, his practice test, which I think is best in class, about $100, all in on that. So I highly recommend that. I usually recommend, Brian, your stuff is that bridge after they get through their paid study materials, then turn to on Brian. You are not alone. You are not alone. If you're looking for a tribe, a test-taking tribe, check out our Facebook group. We just crossed over 4,000 tribe members. Dedicated, disciplined, motivated test takers there every day. It is the most active community on Facebook for NASA and FINRA exam prep. So check it out. We also have Reddit communities. We have a Reddit community subreddit for the Series 6. We have a subreddit for Series 7 and SIE, our Series 7. We have subreddits for NASA exams, the 65, 66, 63. And we have a subreddit for the 9, 10, and 24. If tonight you win our coaching call, you do not win tutoring at a date and time of your choice. What you win is a coaching call, and you go to the class tab at deantenneytutoring.setmore.com. On the class tab, you will see how to collect on your coaching call. It'll give you the date and time. You register, and I show up, and it's a Zoom link, and we talk about whatever you'd like. Everything on my YouTube channel is completely free. There's no upsells of any kind, no channel memberships, no coffee cups, no cell phone cases, baseball caps, none of that. Completely free. Now, on the booking page, that's a little different. There's not many things at deantenneytutoring.setmore.com that are free. That coaching call is free if you win the drawing. We have a weekly Q&A jam session that's free. You can see replays of this on the YouTube channel. We have a book club. I just moved that from March 26th to give people more time to read the book. We're doing Streetwise by the former managing partner of Goldman Sachs, as well as the guy who kind of transitioned into that C Corp Goldman Sachs. So I think that should be a very interesting read. If you do have by the way, we also have free office hours for paid students. And that includes using the discount code with Brian, as I mentioned, or with Kaplan. All right. If you do have a question for Brian R tonight, it's helpful if you tell us what exam you're taking. Helpful, not necessary. We can sometimes figure it out or just ask you to put it back in the chat. SIE, for example, or S7 with a Q followed by your question, just helps us pull that out of the chat so we can get to things a little quicker than we otherwise would. All right, so I think that takes care of the housekeeping. Let's see what we got going on tonight, Brian.
Looks like a lot of people who've passed.
Oh, well, that's good because I got a very special bourbon and cigar. That's fantastic. I keep thinking there's going to be one night where I don't get to have a cigar and I don't get to have a cocktail. No. Hi, Dean Lillian. Series 4 on Monday and wondering what you suggest I study the most. Well, Lillian, I would think that where most people make a bad editorial decision on the Series 4 is not to realize how much of it is sales supervision, not advanced option strategies. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't recognize unlimited risk in a ratio rate, for example, or an uneconomic spread. But primarily, I think it's where most people put it. I've been stuck with the margin. Is there a lot of math? Not on the margin. Not on the margin. Lillian, I'll just give you a quick example of this. Let's say that Apple is $250 a share. And let's say Dean wants to write 10 of the 250 calls naked. This is only for 4. My broker is going to say, Dean, are you nuts? What they're going to want from me is 20% of the market value. So 20% of 250 grand is $50,000. I'm going to have to leave the premium in there. So let's say the premium is $10,000. So to answer your margin question, I need 20% of the market value plus the current premium. If it's out of the money, Lillian, it's not likely I'm going to be exercised. So let's say Apple's 245, I get to deduct 5,000 from that. So I did that math right. My margin requirement to write 10 Apple 250 calls naked with the Apple 245 is $55,000. Mainly recognition of that formula. Now, a couple of things here. Why would you do that, Lillian? And here's why we love credit call spreads. If Brian says to me, Dean, are you serious? $55,000? I said, well, yeah, I'm serious because remember, house requirements, Brian, could actually be more than that. But, it's kind of silly. You want to take on limited risk. Brian, if you just buy the 260 calls, and let's say you get those for 2, now all I'm going to want from you is the $10,000 you could lose. So I'd have a general recognition, Lillian, to make the margin requirement go away. You should just do a credit call spread or a credit put spread because then all you need is the risk in the account, right? And my example there, you have a choice to buy 1,000 shares of Apple 260, an obligation to deliver at 250, that's 10 grand. You got some of the account already from selling the spread. So the difference is what I want to deposit. Debit spread, it's just what the debit is, right, for margin. So I think that gives you a nice overview. But I would tell you, Lillian, I do have, I think, a Series 4 tutoring replay where I go over margin for Series 4. Minimum maintenance, Lillian, is 10% of the market value plus the current premium, which means I'll always have enough money in your account to do the closing purchase, right? I got to think of that. Brian and I are kind of the casino, right? My closing sale or opening sale, right? We always want to be able to close your account out, basically. So minimum maintenance is 10%. In my example of Apple, that would be 10% of 250 grand, 25 grand, plus whatever that current premium is bouncing around. I think the current premium makes sense because, again, that makes sure that I can actually close you out, buy back the option, and send you home, basically. There's not much about it on the test on the Reddit. I'm with you on that, Lillian. I don't know if you've been following us in the Series 24, but we do have 4s in there and 57s. And so, yeah, there's not a big, I guess what I say, there's not a big Series 4 test-taking tribe, so to speak. So, sure, you've been stuck with margin. I hope that was helpful. But if you tell me that you missed your mark on the 4, I would say you had other problems besides margin. Would you agree with me, Brian, that people went before I think they overestimate advanced option strategies and underestimate sales supervision. Right. So that would be what I tell you. And welcome. We always love having Series 4s and 24s. And I feel it's an honor and privilege. We have content on my channel for all those exams as well. All right, Olivia. Guys, I passed by 65. Woo-hoo! So, Olivia, if you're new, we have a right that we do. We ring the bell for testing victories. We have a victory cigar. Tonight's victory cigar is a Oliva Master Blend. Let me get the color.
Oliva for Olivia.
No, well, it's Oliva for Olivia. Oliva for Olivia. Right? I like that. That's kind of a right. Let's just boom. So this is our Oliva for Olivia's victory cigar. And we also, for tonight, I'm pretty excited, Brian. I had a student give me the gift or gratuity rule does not apply to the Guru. And we have a Penelope barrel strength bourbon. I've never had this before.
Oh, my goodness gracious.
Have you had the Penelope before, Brian?
I have not.
Okay. Well, you got to get out here because we got a lot of, a lot of liquor and cigars.
But it matters too.
I won't tell Stacy, I promise.
Is it from Kentucky?
Well, it's got to be. But, the rules of bourbon is it has to be 51% corn. And then, it has to be from Kentucky. Jack Daniels, as you know, would be bourbon if it wasn't from Tennessee.
That's right.
All right, let's see. Oh, I got to light it. I'm struggling here today. I passed the 65 on my first attempt on Saturday. That's the way to do it. A senior in college. How impressive. I got to tell you, Olivia, I thought, I'm a retired kind of stockbroker guy. And when I started this side hustle, YouTube and this kind of thing, I thought I was going to be like one of those old guys, like get off my lawn. Like, oh, Brian, the securities industry is going to hell in a handbasket. We're losing all our human capital. But I'll tell you, I've been impressed with the young men and women that we have that are taking our place, Brian. I'm happy to pass the baton. So now I'm set for your post-grad job. I think that's great. They're going to love that. Even if you don't get that one, showing up with a 65 already is going to be, I think, give you an advantage if there's a tie, right? I'm looking at two people. It's a tie, but Olivia has her 65. By the way, that's not an easy exam, too. So people will respect that a little more, perhaps, than if you took something that was a little easier. Our pleasure. I love that.
To your point, Dean, I hear a lot of people our age complaining about Gen Zs and all they do is stay on the phone. I go, that's not necessarily true. That's a stereotype. I do.
I'm totally with you.
That are quite short.
People do that with us too, right? They think we're just old guys, and
exactly. It's all
which is true.
But, congratulations, Olivia.
Yeah, congratulations. I told you, I'm just really excited. The other thing I feel honored and privileged, Brian, is how many sons and daughters, grandsons and granddaughters of producing brokers send those second, third generation people to me for tutoring. And it's pretty awesome. I don't know how many times that mom, dad, or grandpa, or grandma are paying that $4.25 an hour, but I feel honored that they send them my way. Taking my 65 Friday, my last practice exam was 74 on Kaplan. Love it.
Not bad.
Most of the points I'm missing are simply from the wording of the question, are complex math equations. Brian and I hate this about test prep vendors. All are guilty of this. You're not going to get complex math equations on that actual 65. The ones you're going to get are mainly simple division or simple averages, like total return, like current yield, like after tax. On the more advanced mathematical concepts, it's mainly recognizing input and output. Not can you do it, but when would you use it? What's necessary to do it? Like DCF is a valuation technique, for example, or present value, future value. So any test taking tips for Friday? Well, don't overdose on the math. Keep plugging away. I would think you could do another practice test. This is Tuesday, so maybe do another one tomorrow. And if we're in that mid-70 range, I think you're good. Ronis, I hope I'm pronouncing that Ronnie or Ronis. Brian, your thoughts?
Performance tracker.
Yeah, go back on that 70, particularly with Kaplan. This is why the Kaplan Q Bank we think is the best, because if that's a Kaplan practice test, which you told us it is easy peasy to go back and use that performance tracker and identify areas of remediation for tomorrow. You don't have much time, by the way. So, you should take as much time doing that tomorrow as taking another exam. So right on, Brian, that performance tracker. But I think you're on track. So the other thing I say is first, do no harm. Don't get yourself in like get wobbly, if you find something you're working on. You just kind of got to lock down what you know, right? Batten down the hatches and full speed ahead. Cheers, fellas. Update from last week down the 10 on Friday. Woo, man, I'll tell you, ring the bell for that one.
Slog.
That is a slog. That 10. Ooh, you have the 9. Are you officially a sales supervisor, branch office manager, or not? So give us an update on that. Boy, kudos. Wow, you're right, Brian. Look at all these passes. Start us over the 63. Well, don't turn the 63 into some epic thing. It's not. If you took your 7 last Wednesday, I would expect you to be taking that 63 the end of this week or beginning of next week. Make sure you do practice, drill, and rehearse. Make sure you exhaust that Kaplan Q bank or whatever Q bank you're using for the 63. Brian and I have a video that people find very helpful called Definitions of Registrations of Persons that Brian did. It's fantastic. Contributes a lot of testing victories. I think it's appropriate for the 63. And I have a mighty 90 on the Uniform Securities Act. And Alex, before you ask me, even though it's 4 years old, it is still current. This drives me nuts, Brian. How many people do we get? Oh, this is from 4 years ago. Listen, if it wasn't still current, Brian and I wouldn't have it on his YouTube channel or his teachable videos, and I wouldn't have it, right? So
the Uniform Securities Act is 70 years old.
Yeah, so, 1950s. It's actually older than us.
I know.
I got a 75. I love it. Rules of crypto. That looks good. Next step, I like it. More exams. I'd like to know when you're testing.
Mediation. You got it.
The next step, more exams.
Just got wrong, and I'll be ready. You got it.
I like it. I like the attitude too. I like that attitude. Confident attitude. I'd like to know when your test date is, because with those score, you should be testing soon. Hi, Series 7 Guru. I'm taking the Series 7 April 13th, and I'm using Kaplan. I keep scoring high 60s. Are the Kaplan tests much harder than the actual exam? Well, I don't know about much. When they gave passing scores, back in the day, they gave passing scores. And when Kaplan could track both the failing scores and the passing scores, the variance was between 5 and 12 points in your favor. So high 60s means you're still at risk. I mean, we have many people, and I think more likely you're going to pass. But I would like you to be in the mid 70s. What you need to do is take a strategic pause. You don't want to keep mindlessly taking practice tests and scoring high 60s. What you need to do is take a strategic pause to lay more base knowledge. Use that performance tracker to see if there's commonality these high 60s. Is there a particular subject area that's causing the high 60? Is it all over the board? Take 2-3 days to do that. Go back, take another practice exam, and I think you'll see that score improve. It's not going to be dramatic. You're not going to go from 60s to like 80s, but that grind will get you into the mid 70s. Brian, your thoughts on the grind?
That's it. You got it. That's exactly right.
Well, all right. Ooh, you got the 9, so kudos. Sales supervisor. How is it going generally? The actual exam similarly achievable? I'm not a big achievable fan because of the last comment I just made, which is about variance. To me, there is too much variance in the achievable practice test scores to the actual exam.
A lot. Yeah.
So, TC, I don't like training consultants either, to be honest with you, Luis. I probably not, or Lazaro. I think it's Luis. I don't like either. I think training consultants is a little thin in terms of content. And I think achievable, I just told you what my issue with achievable is. So make sure you supplement. You can supplement with my free YouTube channel. You could pay Brian $100 and get his videos and his PDFs and his practice tests. But my recommendation would be to confirm either of those scores. Either of those scores, I'd want confirmation by doing either Kaplan. That's free on my channel. You can go to, the practice tests. I have Notman, I have Kaplan, I have Brian's, I have one I wrote. So you got lots of ways to confirm the score. So look for confirmation on both those scores. And then exam. The other thing I would tell you that it's fool's gold. One more comment on this. It is fool's gold to be trying to find a test prep vendor who has questions that are similar to the actual exam. Not what you're trying to do. You're trying to actually understand the concepts so you can take down any draw, a dream draw or a face of death draw. When people don't pass, very rarely, and they have a high score, it's because they memorize questions and answers. And that's not what it's about. So anybody who tells you, oh, my exam has the vibe of the actual exam, that's just BS. Nobody does. Now, When I take a test, I would say this. I like to get to the first question I know the right answer to. All right, something on this exam I know. Hopefully I'm not 30 deep before that happens. I settle in. But I think this is whether you had said actual exam and you said Kaplan, pass perfect, or you said Notman or STC, again, it's fool's gold, not what you should be thinking about as a test prep vendor. What you should be thinking is who gives you the best Q bank, who gives you the best performance tracker, who can help you lay that base that you need. That's what you should be making that decision based on. Now, a little bit of a rant, but what do you think about my rant, Brian?
Absolutely. It's standard for the business. Achievables, practice finals just have way too much variance. Some of their practice quizzes as they go along isn't too bad, but their final exams have way too much variance.
The other thing I would say about the Achievable too is that Brandon Reth, who was their subject matter expert who wrote that content, is no longer associated with them. So I'm not sure who's now in charge of updating their Q bank, maybe trying to fix the variance problem. I know if Ken Finnan is doing it on a volunteer basis. I don't know. But I am a little suspicious of guys running a test prep company where there's no subject matter expert. I sometimes have Brian tell me, "Oh, the president of Achievable called me." That's not a good sign. I mean, Brian Marks calls people's too. That's that's pretty cool that he does that. But that's again not why you should be making that decision. You want to know, okay, what's their content? Who's their subject matter expert? Series 7 on the 30th. All right. Yeah, that's what they say. Public service announcement, right? A public service announcement. Anyway, take the Series 7 recently and share their tips.
Yes.
Well, I don't know. I guess if anybody's in the chat and wants to help you share their tips, I'd be more than happy to listen to that. I'm not kind of sure what kind of tips you're looking for. I have an entire video. It's one of my most popular videos. I think it's got 250, 300,000 views, called Tips, Tricks, and Memory Aids for the Series 7. So check out that video, Tips, Tricks, and Memory Aids for your Series 7. Again, it was one of the first videos I ever made. It's still current. I would take it down. I made it for Merrill Lynch. I was teaching a Merrill Lynch sequence of classes, and Merrill Lynch asked me to do a coaching call 2-3 days out with what do I this very subject area. And so, that was their idea. Hey, team, if we're all testing Friday, can we do tips, tricks, and memory aids on Wednesday? I go, absolutely. So it's all the stuff we always talk about, Brian, Cal and push and derp and, all that kind of stuff. My weaknesses are alternative products. Oh, boy, I love your spirit field smile there, Jade. Wow, that's a great looking avatar. Yes. The problem with having a picture with that kind of a smile, if you had a bad day, nobody would say, you can't have a bad day with a smile like that. I'm not sure what you mean by alternative products. Do you mean hedge funds? Do you mean direct participation programs? Do you mean ETNs? Everybody's a little different about how they put in this unit. First, I would tell you that mutual funds are way, way bigger target-rich environment than alternative products. You've got to master mutual funds. On your Series 7, 91 questions are providing basic product information to customers. Basic product information to customers on alternative products, on mutual funds, on options, on muni bonds. Of those 91 questions, 60 plus or minus are mutual funds, options, and munis, right? So that investment companies is a bigger deal. Settlement is pretty straightforward. Regular way settlement under the Uniform Practice Code, which standardizes practices within the securities industry, is T+1 trade date. We agree to terms. Next business day, we settle up with our contraparty, the other broker. Now, for most intents and purposes, that means the customer. But if the customer under Reg T gets 2 additional days to settle, we talked about that last week. I'm not sure what you mean about regulatory reporting, Jade. Do you mean like 10Qs, 10Ks? So, you're here in the chat. If you could tell me what part of alternative products you are struggling with, is it like 2x leveraged ETFs, or is it hedge fund or private equity fund or venture capital fund? And if you could tell me what you mean, narrow down that regulatory reporting, I think we can be a little more helpful to you. Brian, you think alternative products? I would think that's CMOs. I'd probably throw in there.
Yeah, DPPs probably, which of course are not as big a part of the 7 anymore.
Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah, I think the investment company, of all those things you want out there, that investment company, Jay, you make sure you get mutual funds in. Yeah. For all test takers listening to this, you've got to be able in the test to distinguish between an open-end fund and a closed-end fund. That is very testable on all exams. So in that investment company category, Jade, make sure you're clear about the distinctions. The biggest being that open-end companies are continually offering new shares to the public, whereas closed-end funds do an IPO, then trade supply and demand. On May 4th, well, so Jeff, I think May 4th is way out there, my friend. I think you've been with us. Well, there we go, 4th attempt. Okay, so maybe not. But pace yourself. You know, that 4th attempt, that means we had a 6-month wait, so you should have been able to kind of times this, you know, incrementally to not wear yourself out. But you got it. Well, I'll tell you what, it'll be a sweet testing victory on that 4th attempt. You're going to feel really good. Other than the seesaw or teeter-totter for yields, what do you recommend do students put on their cheat sheet? Everybody's cheat sheet is a little different. So, you know, I would think of it this way, Seth. If I told you could have one sheet of paper with anything on it, front and back, what would be on that? You brought up the teeter-totter. I probably had the options matrix, but everybody would be different. You can actually put cheat sheet or data dump into your Google search engine, and you can look at all the other ones that are out there, but make it your own. Don't, you know, copy somebody else's. Seth, if your brain is at its best the night before you go to bed, just before you go to bed when you wake up. And so if you had that model cheat sheet with your, I don't know, teeter-totter, your matrix, maybe your dates, maybe you had some colors there. I don't know. Everybody's a little different. But if you had that, and then the night before you go to bed, you said, okay, let me try and flush that out. See how close you come, and then do it in the morning. By now in test time, you'd be able to dump that out, and that would not be cheating. Right now, Brian knows that I wish people would call this a data dump sheet instead of a cheat sheet, because I'm afraid somebody's going to leave this thing at the exam site and get themselves in trouble. But I would tell you, too, the clock is running as you're doing your data dump sheet. So when you're doing your practice test and you have your data dump sheet, you know, make sure you're taking that into account. I used to tell people, Seth, pretend you don't know that you got to start the clock. They're used to confuse people. So I wouldn't start the clock. I would do my data dump. They come up and say, Mr. Tinney, you got to start the clock. I go, oh, I got to start the clock. Oh, I'm sorry. I still wouldn't start the clock. You know, and then they come back, I got to start the clock. Oh, you know, I didn't know. So no, hopefully not too many people do that. Achievable does have a sample data dump sheet. But this is the problem. I look at their data dump sheet, Brian, they got a lot of stuff on there I think makes no sense to make on a data dump sheet. That's why it's an individual kind of a thing. What's that?
Do we know what exam Seth is taking?
Oh, yeah. Well, Seth, that'll be very helpful, because the data dump sheet is more useful for like Series 7 than it is for like a NASA exam. Right. So, yeah. So tell us what exam you're taking. I would, Seth, if you're looking for ideas for your data dump sheet, check out my tips, tricks, and memory aids on Series 7. That would be good fodder for depth. In fact, I talked, Seth, at the end of that video that I made for that Merrill Lynch cohort. At the very end, I talk about this, what I'm just talking about with you, about a data dump sheet and how to go about that. And people say, well, why didn't you just do it? Yeah. Sometimes at the end of the class, we'll get a whiteboard, Brian, and say, what would be on your data dump sheet? We'll brainstorm together and see what would be on there. Took down the SIC. Woo! 6 on Friday. Any recommendations for suitability? Well, I would tell you that good news, there's truth in labeling on mutual funds. So pay attention to the pivot words of the question, like they're interested in growth and income or something like that. And then, you're not allowed to call your mutual fund that isn't something along that line. So it sounds like a cocktail party trick, but I like it. And if you did good on your SIE, it shouldn't be anything that's really too foreign for you. 6 is not really as much judgment oriented as it is recognition oriented. So I think you're in pretty good shape. What do you think for suitability on 6, Brian?
Yeah, exactly. The names of the mutual funds and understanding what type of investment and objective they have. And again, I think you're absolutely right. It's not really as big a category as people think it is.
Yeah. If my studying strategy is good, can I reach out to you via email? Well, of course. Jeff, I get lots of unsolicited emails.
200, yeah.
Yeah, Jeff, and what's really neat, I had a person, I hit the Zoom link for tutoring, and she said, Dean, rather than asking you about tutoring, I thought I would just book it and we could talk. I go, oh, thank you so much. Now, I didn't charge her for the hour. I let her bank it because she just wanted to talk about studying your strategy. You can always send me an email, but tell me on the heading Tuesday live stream, because otherwise, it may get lost in the mix. Brian and I have had this discussion before. This is a side hustle for me. And so I don't really have and plan on hiring anybody, even though I probably could have 2 full-time people supporting me on the YouTube channel and my tutoring. But please, just be simpatico with that and put it in your heading. And I'm more than happy to send me an email. If I don't respond, feel free to nudge me and send it again. But Jeff, you could also, when we see that maybe next Tuesday, when being on your test day, we can bring it up and see what we think. What do you think, Brian?
Yeah, if he would like to send me an email, I only get 125 emails.
Well, there you go.
And I have a written blog that I wrote quite a while ago.
There's Brian's email.
The best way in which to take down any of these exams. The process is the same, whether you're taking the 65 or the 7 or the SIE. So if you want like a copy of that, I'd be more than happy to send it to you.
Oh, my goodness.
Exam.
Oh my goodness! And now is that just for Jeff, or is that for anybody who's watching?
Anybody. Yeah, I send it out.
Oh my goodness! All right, well there you go. When Brian offers something for free, I would certainly take it up on him. So there's his email, Brian at testgeekexamprep.com. He's offering has how to study past PTFU for a very popular price point, free.
0.
Wow. And I always, when he does it, I tease him, but I also say, hey Brian, is your offer of the free cheat sheet for the NASAA exam still valid? Are we going to add that to the mix?
That's always there.
Okay. So you got some free things. You got the cheat sheet for NASAA exams, which I love. I use it a lot tutoring. And by the way, who's been copied by all kinds of people, Brian, have just taken your PDF and just, shameless in terms of copying that. But anyways, you got 2 offers there from the Test Geek himself. I would surely take him up on that. All right, let's see. Where are we at now? I always get lost if I try and do 2 things. Let me get rid of your email. Let me get me.
Bring us back, Dave.
I did. I was going to do it.
There you go.
Okay. Give me time. I was on it, buddy. I was on it.
I was trying to give you time.
Let me get rid of this here. Okay. Now I got to go find the comments.
Yes, we're on your Mr.
When things get noisy, you pull back. I think we were close to this guy who sent us a super chat.
That's him. That's him. Yep.
This will be my 4th attempt. Can I reach out? Yep. Thank you so much, Mr. Tony Soprano. In our business, Tony, I love what Tony said about syndicates. He was the head of the Soprano Syndicate. We call that the manager, Brian. And they were talking about that deal they did. And we call the manager. Tony told Chris, his nephew, he says, I call it my taste. I don't care what does what in the Soprano Syndicate. I expect my taste.
I want my taste.
Yeah. And then he said, Chris said to him, he goes, well, what about the other syndicate members? They're going to be upset if you're not kicking down to them. And he goes, well, you don't understand syndicates. I don't kick down. People kick up. Right. If I do the deal myself, I'm keeping it all. All right. Love it. What a loss to the world that Gandolfini is no longer with us. What a great actor. Yes, all of the above. Okay. I'm not sure, Jade, I think we were talking about your mutual funds.
Alternative investments. Yeah.
All the above. Okay. Past the 7. All right. Woo. On to the 63. Going for that hat trick. I love it. 65 in February 2025. I worked for a firm, didn't register my 65. Now I don't work for them anymore and applying at banks. I guess my question is 2 years before I need to retest. I'm worried. Yes. They now have a thing called MQP, but it doesn't sound like you were a part of that. So if you're not a part of what's called the MQP and you're not current on your CE, you're going to have to retest if it's 2 years.
Sorry.
I'm sorry.
I was telling
sorry.
Jeff,
Yes,
sorry, you have to retest.
That's right. We've seen that. It's happened to me too, Brian. I get out of the business and I come back, and out for us, it shouldn't be a challenge to have to take the test. But a lot of people, oh man, when things get noisy or you feel pulling a lot of directions, what do you come back to? I'm not sure, Bugsy, what this question is about.
Wow.
It's like, are you asking us? This is a FINRA and NASA exam prep YouTube channel. It's not a new age meditation kind of YouTube channel, so I'm not quite sure what you mean there. I don't know. I like a nice cigar. I pour myself a nice bourbon. Everybody has different things. Give us some more context. Maybe we can be helpful. I'm interested in getting into the industry. I'm researching how to start. I'm open to a broker-dealer or an IRA. Where should I start? Well, I hate to sound rude, but in the beauty contest, you are a contestant, not a judge. So, whether you're open to a broker-dealer, I think, Mr. Angel, I think V, you should definitely take any job that you can have a good learning experience. I think in the beginning of your career in the securities industry, a learning experience with people you like is, I think, worth more than taking the offer with the best money. The money in our business will usually even out and take care of itself. So that's what I would be looking for, is that kind of an opportunity. Where should you start? I got a great answer for you. Take the SIE. Prove to the people that you're talking to that you're genuinely have some initiative, and go take that SIE. Doesn't require sponsorship. That's called the Securities Industry Essential Exam. And you should do that. So when you're researching how to start, that's why it's called that, by the way, because that's what everybody assumes is the starting point into the securities industry. Your thoughts, Brian?
Yep, absolutely. As a matter of fact, we deal with a lot. We have a large percentage of people who are looking to get into the industry, and they just go ahead and take the 65, or they take the
Get an exam under your
exams. Yeah.
You can take the 65 too without sponsorship, but I think that's a lot harder than the SIE. So do the SIE first, then take a 65. What helped you most? I'm not sure what you mean by that either. So we get a lot of kind of vague questions. Tighten that up. Are you talking to somebody in the chat? Are you talking to Brian and I? Just give us some more context. I've enjoyed your Reddit community on the 24. Well, thank you, Matthew. As I get ready for my exam next week, both of your videos have been huge so far. Wish you luck. Good luck. Nothing. I love saying kudos, General Securities Principal. And that Reddit is very, very popular. Be careful with our Reddit communities, because every once in a while, you might see something that scares you. Not usually 24s. But Matthew, I got to tell you, 24 is so strange, because I get more people whining on the 24 than almost any other exam. And you would think that the more senior people would be less of the whiners about blaming their test prep vendor or their draw now. And again, I think it's challenging too, because unlike a baby broker, you probably got other commitments. So Matthew, this happened to me. I was tutoring against 24, and I said to him, I said, Brian, you got to get rid of your distractions. And he said, Dean, my wife and kids are not distractions. I said, okay, let me rephrase that. Let's agree they're not liabilities, they're assets. I'm just saying, between your 15 direct reports and your family, you got a lot going on. So I like Matthew. You look like a relatively young man, so hopefully that means you have less distractions than perhaps some older folks. SIE exam. Okay, well, now I don't know what that goes.
That was for the cheat sheet.
Oh, okay. I don't know. Not as helpful, I think, as on the 7, but hey, what I like about here's what I would say what I like about a data dump sheet, Seth. It's hard to establish a rhythm. We talked about this last week, Brian, that a lot of people don't have a natural circadian rhythm as it applies to FINRA and NASA exams. So anything you can do to kind of slow your mind down and get into a flow state, I'm a big fan, Seth. So I like data dump sheets for that very reason. It triggers your brain. I'm not sure what a difference it makes in terms of testing, but it does slow your brain down a little bit, and your brain goes, okay, time to test. In last week's live stream, I told Seth what I told people to do is read Brian's practice test, the questions and his right answers, the night before, morning of, or just as they're walking in an exam site. Not because it's, you're going to get 5 questions just like Brian's, but rather just to get your mind kind of in that flow state. I had Seth, the young lady I was working with, And my God, her practice test, she'd go off the rails in the first 20 questions. She'd climb back in. I said, listen, I don't want to sound like I'm a new agey guy, but can we just set the intention that we're not going to go off the rails in the first 20 questions? Just, kind of let it come to us a little bit, right? So that's the reason I like a data dump sheet in that regard, in terms of just getting your brain like ready to go, right? Kind of like I call it like good playing basketball, right? Just to shoot around to kind of get the flow going. Yeah, Brian.
Seth, one other area that I think people like to use on the SIE is the simple options chart for the 4 different option positions, which you will later expand upon when it comes to series.
Yeah, absolutely.
But the options chart is another thing that people.
And I'm always remiss, Seth, when we don't mention the FINRA SIE practice test. Make sure angels weep for any SIE test taker who doesn't take advantage of the FINRA SIE practice test on their website. When people ask me who has the exam closest to the actual SIE, guess who? No surprise, FINRA, right? So go take that one. Go take that one for sure. Oh my goodness, we're getting do we get another super chat there? $25? Yes, that's crazy. There we go. I think we did that one already. I got that one already. I got that one already. Did that one. There's our 24. There's our soprano. Brian. Oh, there. Okay, so there's your answer from our victorious test takers. Hey, victorious test takers, always thanks for joining us Tuesday night. Brian and I can tell you whatever we're going to tell you, but sometimes to see victorious test takers who've been in a similar situation made their mark is very, very helpful. So you're always welcome back on a Tuesday. We'll always give you the shout out, and we really appreciate your attendance. We have some victorious test takers, by the way, that also join our Facebook group and stay in the Facebook group and help others, which is kind of cool. All right. Woohoo! Love it, love it, love it. If you buy a stock at 50 and you buy a put with a strike price at 45, for $1, what's the most likely question to follow? What is your max loss? Right, your max loss is going to be 7 points, right? I'm out 50 for the stock. I'm out 2 points for the protection. So I'm out 52. That's my break even, right? And then I have a choice to sell at 45. So the reason you're doing it, test question, this is the suitability part of this question. You're doing this to have the ability to participate in a big price increase, but not participate in a big price decrease. How cool is this? This is like buying term insurance on your stock position, protection. Protection cost money, right? So that's what this is. This is a hedge. A hedge is a fence. Keeps good things in, bad things out. The foundation of Mark Cuban's fortune is selling broadcast.com to Yahoo for over $1 billion in Yahoo stock. When he did that, the Yahoo stock was $110 a share. If he wasn't bullish, he would have blown out the stock. But he said, you know what? No sense going backwards. So he bought a 90 put. So he bought a choice to sell every share at Yahoo he owned at $90 a share. At expiration, Yahoo is $18. So did Cuban blow out the stock at 18, or did he exercise his puts? He is the putter. He stuck it to people at 90. Right? He's the putter. That year, he paid $200 million in capital gains tax. I don't know him personally, but I know him casually. He said, Mark, that was so cool. $200 million in capital gains tax. I go, I'm not happy about that. I go, well, you could have done like Chris Cohan, our former owner of the Warriors, and got into a tax shelter, got disallowed, and then you have to sell the Warriors to pay your tax bill. But oh well, right? I've seen him interviewed many times since, and he always says that a lot of the guys who were dot-com billionaires like him are no longer billionaires because they didn't put in the hedge. One more story. I know you're going to say, Dean, you got to let it go. It's been 30 years. You can't be serious. Are you still mad at this guy? The answer is yes. I'm still mad. I had a doctor client, Brian. We got lucky. We bought the stock at 90. It went to 180. The puts were really inexpensive. I said, doctor, we could buy a 175 put for 3 points. We're on 90 for the stock, 3 points for the protection. We would have a guaranteed profit. He said, well, I thought you're not allowed to use the word guarantee. I said, I'm not. So when I can, I love saying it. I ain't guaranteeing anything. And then what he said to me, I couldn't believe is, Dean, if you buy the put, do you get a commission? I said, well, yeah, doctor, but I'm not actually thinking about my commission. I'm thinking about the protection. It's kind of like buying insurance, right? You don't buy insurance because you plan on wrecking. You buy the insurance just in case. Anyways, I said, doctor, if I really was after commission, I wouldn't be getting you to buy a put, marry a put. I would be getting you to put in a sell stop at $179.99. A penny below the current market price, get you pumped out of the stock. I'd make a lot more doing that. He didn't do it, and it was fun because I got to call him. Here's why I'm so mad, Brian. We would have had perfect negative correlation. Once the stock went below 175, I called him. I say, hey, Brian, if you had that 175 put at 150, it'd be 25 points on the money. Every dollar you'd be losing on the stock, you'd be making it up in the intrinsic value of the put. But no, you thought I was after a commission, right? So that would be the most likely question. I think you're taking the SIE. That looks like the exact question from the SIE practice test. And I like it.
I just bought a hedge on my March Madness futures tickets.
Oh, Brian. He loves Brian. So I'm
now guaranteed a profit no matter which four of my teams.
Oh, that's awesome, Brian. I love you. You're he's a gambling, speculating person, right? So
it's just fun.
I use Brian as a gambler when it comes to spreads, right? The spread is the difference in the scores. It's always the difference in something, right? So my guess is Brian probably had a spread that kind of moved and he was able to lock in that variable. So that would be my guess. Brian, is that what you ended up having another bet that offset that one?
No? Had nothing to do with the spread.
When we have cocktails, you can tell me all about it.
I will explain it to you, yes.
Hi, Dean. I'm testing 24 in less than 2 weeks, and your content has been invaluable. Your real-life examples really help to put things in perspective. Well, hey, that's my thing. I'm a tiger, Carl, and I'm not changing my stripes, and so some people don't like that about me. Oh, he tells a lot of stories. I go, it's true. I do. I lived a lot of life, and I got a lot of stories. P.S. So, as a teacher, I think Brian would probably agree with this as teachers, storytellers. I think it's easier to remember the story than it is to remember a bunch of, boring facts.
Exactly.
That's right. I think it's easier to remember a story about Mark Cuban buying puts on Yahoo than it is, I saw that got answered earlier. I take the 63 tomorrow. Make sure you get a good night's sleep, particularly on NASA exams. Because, Jennifer, we need your reading skills to be in top form. I don't know about you. When I'm tired, my reading skills are greatly diminished. And on NASA exams, boy, you got to have your reading skills in top form. Past perfect. Okay, well, I feel sorry for you. No, I'm joking. Past perfect is the opposite of training consultants. It's got too much, but too much is better than not enough. And if you are getting 80s on past perfect, I think you're good to go. Any tips? Yes. Get some rest. You're done. You got to be confident in your execution of your study plan because you're completed. It's over. Got to be confident in yourself. Most important tomorrow, you got to be confident in your answers. And with an 80 on past perfect, there'd be no reason for you not to be very confident on making your mark tomorrow. Your thoughts, Brian? Anything for tonight?
Yeah. Do you know a good lullaby?
I do not. I only know Mirror, Mirror on the Wall.
It's time to go to bed for Jennifer. It's time. You're done.
Yeah, if you're on the East Coast, go to bed.
Yeah.
Curfew. Well, the internal rate of return, Groundhog, I think of it as the bridge from present value to future value.
Exactly.
Right. So the question you get on 65 and 66 sometimes is the yield to maturity as the internal rate of return. And then I would probably think of that. I don't want to get too complicated on it. I used to use it in this kind of a setting, Grogog Hound. I used to say, hey, Brian, if you put $10 million into this Carlyle private equity fund, we're targeting internal rates of return of 22%. Okay, by the way, FINRA took exception to this conversation. And I didn't say, Brian, we're going to get 22 ways of targeting. And I had all the disclaimers and, you're an institutional investor. But if that's true and we can get internal rates of return 22 on 10 million, it's a 5 to 7 year exit. And here's what we would be looking at in terms of that internal rate of return. So that's how I think of that, is the bridge from present value to future value. The second thing I would tell you, sometimes there's questions about yield to maturity being the equivalent to the internal rate of return and having zero net present value. Your thoughts, Brian, on my comments on that, or would you add or subtract from that?
No, those are good. I like the bridge between present value and future value. I use kind of a different example.
What's that?
I know the tests like to use it as a business tool as to whether an acquisition is going to, but that doesn't relate to us. Yeah. For us, it's an investor who has $100,000 in his 401k and wants to get to $1 million in 20 years. What would be the bridge that would get me from 100 to $1 million in 20 years? What rate of return would get us there? That's the internal rate.
I like it. That's exactly right. Now, I should tell you too, disclosure. We get, well, I don't know how much heat Brian gets, but I get a lot of heat from CFAs and guys who have PhDs in modern portfolio theory. They hate my teeter-totter seesaw. They say, you're way oversimplifying this. I go, hey, that's what we do.
That's what we do.
You know, they get even madder when I take it as a compliment. You know.
Thank you. Yes, we do oversimplify it. That's right. That's exactly.
I'm 75% through the LEM. Okay, cool. Running 89. Love it. April 24th. I love it. I think listen, I love this post. Lisa's mom. Is that right? Lisa Moan. I love it. I have nothing I can say to that. The hat trick would be, you got two. So don't get ahead of yourself. You got the SIE, you got the Slay the Series 7 Dragon, then you got the 6366, but I love it. No reason to think you're not going to make your mark. Variable products, definitely there. Variable annuities, I think of, Jade, I don't know if it's helpful, but I think of a variable annuity as a mutual fund with an insurance wrapper. That's what it is. Right? A mutual fund with an insurance wrapper. That mutual fund is the separate account. And you will get tested on this idea of it being a non-qualified retirement plan funded with after-tax money. You will get tested on last money's in, first money out, the tax consequences. So maybe 3-4 questions there. Life only gives the largest monthly checks. That's pretty testable. All test prep vendors go way overboard on direct participation programs, maybe 2, and they're very straightforward. I get so upset, Jade, when people are sending me questions they need help on with, like, is it a recourse note or a non-recourse note? And how does it affect their cost basis? Total waste of your time.
We took that question 25 years ago.
Yeah, but that's right. We call them legacy questions. A lot of test prep vendors have questions they haven't deleted from when the Series 7 had 10 or 12 questions on partnerships rather than 2. Business developed worker ratio, you could expect a trick on that. That's in the news presently, right? Limited liquidity on those. You can think right now, Blue Owl and all these companies they're not liquid because you can only cash out at intervals, and it's based on the mark, right? So one question, annuities, I just told you, variable products. The partnerships and BDCs are not variable products. They're more what you said, alternative assets. A variable product is a variable annuity. Helps the AMT, very straightforward. Again, the alternative minimum tax. If you make a lot of money, and my accountant calls, he says, Dean, you made a lot of money. I said, yeah, it's been a good year. He said, well, Dean, you have so many deductions, it looks like you don't owe any money. I go, well, that sounds wonderful. He goes, well, Dean, everybody has to pay something. So now I'm going to have to recalculate your taxes based on the alternative method. And so, your studio, you could usually deduct that, but not now. It's a preference item. And the one that comes up on the test is a private activity municipal bond, an industrial development revenue bond. And I think it's a lot more aim and shoot, point and click than people think. It's just which of these bonds may be taxable, which of these bonds would be unsuitable for an investor subject to the AMT. You don't need to worry about intangible drilling costs as a preference item or incentive stock options as a preference item. The only thing you got to worry about is that muni bond. Right? Anything else you would add to that?
That's exactly right. That one question on AMT is a suitability question related to internal revenue
industrial
revenue bonds. The industrial revenue bond.
Yeah, private activity bonds. Private activity bonds.
Private purpose. Yeah.
Pass the SIE hat trick. Curious what your thoughts are on going for the 66. Well, the 66, why not? It's a combination of the 63, 65. Alex, what you are now is an agent of a broker-dealer. What that means is you're not somebody who's representing an investment advisory firm. That's an investment advisor rep. If you took a 66, you would then could be an investment advisor rep of an investment advisory firm as well as the agent of the broker dealer, which you presently are. My firm doesn't require it, but hey, listen, if so what if they don't require it? I mean, I think it sounds like you have a great firm, and I hope you do. But why not add to your own curriculum vitae, right? If you're that doesn't work and you're moving on and you have a 66, you're going to be able to do more things for more firms than with your 763. So if you're, by the way, I like this, doesn't require it. Some firms will even hold you back and not let you take it. So the idea that they don't require it, but will let you take it, I think it says something about your firm. Right? I had a guy who I worked for, and I left him because, he just, at some point he wouldn't pay me what, he needed to pay me. But now he's, I still hear from him every now and again. But I said, why don't you just get the person a 7? He goes, oh, then they'll leave me. I go, that's the wrong attitude, right? Past the 65 yesterday. Woo! Oh, CFA level 1 next. Oh, baby. Watch out. Now that's a dragon of a different fire breathing, all right? Different dragon. Mighty 90. The Mighty 90 has been very popular. When I started my channel, everybody said to me, Dean, nobody will watch hour-long videos. And I said, well, that's the only video I know how to make because that's what my lectures are. I mean, and I just hit play and record, and then, obviously that was wrong. I had the Series 7 and 60 minutes. I have all kinds of people copying me. Ken Finnan now has a copycat version called the Power Hour. I mean, so now I take it as flattery that everybody's copying my videos. But I said, well, people like 60 minutes. Let's see if they like 90 minutes. So I have Dirty 30s, Mighty 90s, and your series whatever in 60 minutes. And I love Brian's supplement. I told you that. His supplement, of course, I just think I told you, is such a nice bridge. I mean, it helps you, in Kaplan, for example, as much as we love Kaplan. I'll just pick the 65, for example. That book is, oh my God, it's like 800 pages. And it's always asking about us the math, whether it's past perfect or Kaplan. I think when you get to analytical methods on Kaplan or past perfect, you go, oh my God, I'm going to have to calculate present value and future value. No, you're not. You have to have an understanding of that. And so I think Brian also helps you get that confirmation you need. What is actually tested and how do they test it? So I think it's a great investment for $100. 8 days out from test date. Boy, we're getting a lot of super chats today. I love it. Use your guys' resource ads in 68. Well, remember, if you joined us earlier, the variance is 5 to 12 points in your favor. So that's a good thing. So any 8 days out, any final day cram tips or trips? Because what we just talked about, this final day, you shouldn't be cramming. The days of cramming the night before, day before a test are over. It's not going to work. Might have worked in college, might have worked in high school, ain't going to work here. So the final day should be about your psyche, some low key, keep your rhythm, get a good night's rest. As I said earlier, at that point, you got to be confident in the execution of your study plan because it's over. I joke, study plans are like options. They're a wasting asset. Time value erodes, right? And then what you got to get is some rest, right? So final day crams, tips or tricks. I do have a video on the day before, and it's just about that. Like maybe you want to go find out where your test site is just to see where there's a Denny's or a Starbucks or stuff like that. Anything you can do to lower your anxiety, that's what you should be thinking about that day before. Your thoughts on that, Brian?
Yeah, absolutely. We talk about this all the time.
Yeah.
That last day. Now, on the other side, I know people who say, well, my boss told me to go skiing the day before the test. Yeah. I don't know about that. But he's absolutely right. You got to keep it light. Maybe a little review.
Well, and I would say, don't you think for two Brian bosses, I say this in a loving way, but you really got to give thought to avoiding energy vampires. And, there's nothing good that can come from skiing. I mean, could be a problem, is a problem, never be a problem, right? You go skiing, you hit a tree, something like that.
You don't want to go skiing or go fishing or something, but you're not going to be doing 3 final exams.
Yeah, no.
It should be low key, just maintain that rhythm, review notes, review an old practice final, watch a video or two, and be done with it.
It's rhythm.
A nice dinner and a glass of wine with your spouse and kids.
I think it's like an athletic event, right? You just want to kind of like, I joke, it's like the shoot around, right? You want to come out, shoot a few baskets just to kind of get warmed up. You don't want to wear yourself out, right? You don't want to, run out. I always say, you don't want to run out of fuel before you stake the landing. So you should be making sure you have some fuel left. And boy, look at all these super chats we're getting, Brian. All your videos help me. Wow, love that. Woohoo! There we go. We got to do some more collabs, right? Brian and I, we had a good rhythm going on making videos together, but we kind of fell out of our rhythm. So
life got in my way.
There you go. It's
I like living life.
Me too. To be honest with you, that's kind of getting in the way a little bit. 65. No problem. We got it. We figured it out. Including my hat trick on Friday. Woohoo! Boy, you were right, bro. Formal toast. Here's your formal toast. We might have to listen. We got so many testing victories. I think I'm going to have to reach in and get another finger or two, another dram. This is barrel strength. That's pretty good. They have a cigar version of this that I got to try. So this is barrel strength. It's a lot smoother than I was thinking. More like would be like a Booker's, and it's a lot sweeter. Not bad. Formal toast. There's your formal toast to our victorious test taker. I don't know if you can read my glass there. Can you read the glass?
No, I can't.
That's what I do. I drink and I know things. Formal start my role training. I love it. I love our securities industry. How many people, Brian, do we see come into the securities industry and they're able to take care of themselves and their family and their clients? It's a great industry. I'm taking this down. Can you go over the spread? Take down the concession and who gets what? Well, I always say, Ashley, get tested on two things here. You get tested on compensation and participants, right? So if we had a spread, let's say we won the underwriting. We'll use munis because I'm going to get tested more often. We provided the issuer the lowest net interest cost. So our syndicate won the underwriting. And there were various competing syndicates because the issuer, Ashley, put a notice of sale test question in the daily bond buyer. The daily bond buyer test question is a newspaper widely read in the municipal market. And I said, hey, Brian, maybe Brian works at UBS. I work Morgan Stanley. I say, did you get the bond buyer today? Can you make that 990, Brian, please, instead of 980? Yes. Thanks. Because I'm going to walk through it. So Brian's got his board there going. He's going to walk us through this. So we told the issuer. I said, Brian, you want to join the state? He goes, no, Dean, I got a competing syndicate. I go, say it ain't so. He said, well, Dean, if you win, no hard feelings. So we gave the issuer 990. And we're going to sell the bonds at par. So the spread, your first question, is $1.10, right? Bond speak, that's a point. And Brian is then to get lost. Now, before we were awarded the syndicate, Ashley, Franklin Templeton called me and said, Dean, if you win, we would like, $2 million worth of bonds.
Pre-sale. So
a pre-sale order is an order received before the syndicate was awarded the underwriting. I should have felt special because they called Brian and said the same thing. They're not loyal. They're just calling around town saying, hey, if you win, I want some bonds. It does help us put our pencil to our bid a little tighter, right? I say, listen, to my syndicate members, let's say I'm Morgan Stanley, Edward Jones is a member of my syndicate. I said, you can take down bonds for $991.25. You can take down bonds for $991.25. You said, well, Dean, you're getting the bonds from the issuer at $990. I go, yeah, I have the exclusive contract with the issuer. You can't get the bonds without coming through me, the manager. So no matter who sells the bonds, I'm getting an eighth. The management fee is typically test question, the smallest individual component of the spread. The smallest individual component of the spread. There's three components of the spread. Now, as a syndicate member, you can decide to sell that yourself, Edward Jones. If Edward Jones sells that bond themselves, Ashley, they'll make the total takedown. They'll make 7/8. The total takedown is not an individual component of the spread. I say, hey, Edward Jones, you want some help selling your bonds? Call Brian at UBS. Put him in your selling group. Put him in your selling group. So you call UBS. You say, "Hey, Brian, Dean told me to call you as the manager. Said you might want some bonds. You can have bonds for $9.95. You can have bonds for $9.95." So Brian, if a selling group member, not a member of the syndicate, can make a half a point. The selling concession is typically the largest individual component of the spread. And if all you receive is the selling concession, you're not at risk for unsold securities. Now that you are actually in that example at Edward Jones, you're going to make 3/8 on a bond that somebody else has sold. That's called the additional takedown. So the total takedown is both the additional takedown and selling concession. All right. When we talked about pre-sale orders, so we now have won the underwriting, and I get a call from T. Rowe Price. They say, "Dean, we would like $2 million worth of bonds." I say, "Who would you like to designate within our syndicate?" And they go, "Well, I designate you, then, Edward Jones is mad, just leave it undesignated." That's called a group order. A group order, undesignated order, means we're going to share that with the entire syndicate, right? Maybe I get a call from American Funds, and they say, "Hey, Dean, we like $2 million. I say, "Who would you like to designate?" They say, "Designate Ashley and Edward Jones." Woo! I say, "Ashley, you might want to thank them. They designated you." Right? And then the bonds we want for our own inventory, our own UITs, our own mutual funds at Morgan Stanley, member orders come last. A good way to remember that order priority in the syndicate is pro golfers don't miss, or pretty girls date more, or pretty guys date more, or pretty guys drive Mercedes, whatever. It'll be a scramble multiple. You got to unscramble it. So those are the components. Now, what you're going to get, Ashley, on the exam is they're going to say, just had one the other day that I thought was pretty reflective. It said you're a selling group member, so you got to figure out this half a point, $5. You sold 50,000 bonds. What's your compensation? So they're going to ask, what is the firm's compensation? One last point, who gets what? By the way, the only person who can make all the components of the spread are the manager, right? In my example, Morgan Stanley is the manager, and what they sell through their own distribution network, they're making the entire spread. They're making the management fee. They get that on everybody. And the bonds they sell themselves, they're also going to get the additional takedown on the selling concession, right? You may or may not decide to build your own bracket. It's called not testable. The only last thing I would add to this is you should know what kind of syndicate it is. Is it a divided syndicate, or is it an undivided syndicate? Is it divided Western, where your firm is individually responsible for selling bonds, or is it undivided Eastern, where it's based on your percentage? I had some young ladies, well, I shouldn't say young, they were older, but in class, and they worked at a firm, Brian, called Artemis Capital. It's a lady investment bankers and public finance, and they said they think of it as a family dinner. And a Western family dinner, you just got to eat your own meal, and then you can leave the table. An Eastern family dinner, you can keep passing around until it's all gone. I have all kinds of videos. Put this in the search bar. Actually, all kinds of videos will come up. Let me give Brian his board. I want to take advantage of his board work. Right? He's showing you every.
Well, yeah, I there's a lot of language and vocabulary that different textbooks can use, and generally the different textbook or the different language vocabulary is related to the municipal bond underwriting versus corporate securities.
Corporate's a lot more straightforward indeed.
It certainly is. And the municipal stuff, and they start getting into lowest net interest costs, and they start doing all of these sorts of things. I have a practice final question on my Series 7 final that's very close. And Dean kind of mentioned it as well. If my takedown, whatever it is, whether it's $8.75, whether it's $5, right? And I got 1,000 bonds, and you just multiply that concession with the number of bonds for their total profit.
Definitely. Actually, I too have a tutoring replay where I walk through this with a customer or a student. So you can watch my tutoring way. I have a whole video on underwriting munis. So we cover this on the YouTube channel at length. So there's lots of content there for you. So who gets what? But I like your question. It's definitely there for sure.
Yep.
And boom. After passing SI, I'm struggling with state versus federal. Well, I don't know what to make of that. It's almost too late. Versus federal IA and broker. Brian had offered you game time finance. I don't know if you were here. he has offered to you free of charge his cheat sheet on, who you are. And I use it tutoring. You can find who you are there. I would take it, right? So state, federal, it's never both, and broker registration. Any advice? Well, let's start with the broker dealer. That's pretty straightforward. No office, no retail, no register. That's simple. So the office or retail, the broker dealer has to register. True of the age of the broker dealer. State or federal, it's based on your assets under management, right? So if I'm managing 100 million to 110, I can choose state or federal. Over 110, I'm federal. Less than 100, I'm going to register with state or states. And then what follows from that is the investment advisor rep. I'll knock the federal part out and then I'll defer to Brian. Federal is pretty easy. And boy, Brian, good news, is as big a jerk as the guy who wrote the test. And on his practice questions, the one I love, Brian, is you talk about a Jedi mind trick. Brian has state A, state B, state C, state D. The only thing that's meaningful in his question is he tells you it's a federally covered advisor. And then it's an investment advisor rep. All you need to do is say, okay, there's a place of business in A and D, done. All that de minimis stuff is only if it's state. So, I get the question, I go, okay, it's federally covered. Thank God. Oh, easy peasy. If it's state, it's a little more minutia. Your thoughts on this one, Brian?
Yeah. Put my email address up there. So Game Time Finance can get my cheat sheet and my 12-question quiz. Your problem will be solved by tomorrow afternoon.
By the way, he is sincere. I mean, it's true. I mean, he's not blowing smoke. That's definitely true. So take Brian up on that. And, like I say, he will. If you don't take him up on that, then you can miss his question and then you'll have it fixed, right? So either by the hard way, missing the question, but hey, miss it on Brian's practice test and not on the actual exam. All right, there you go, Brian. So Brian at Test Geek Exam Prep. So the free stuff is continuing to compound. We got the how to build a study plan PDF blog thing Brian's offered for free. He's offered his cheat sheet for free, and he's offered this little thing. I think it's part of the same cheat sheet. No different thing.
No. Just how to study and pass the exam, or definition and registration of broker dealers.
Love it. So take him up on that. Okay, let's see where we're at. Now we're running a little over, so let me see where we're at. Thank you, Dean. Your videos, we did that. Taking the series on my Monday. I think we did this one. Yeah, that's where we're at. Yeah. Thank you. You're welcome, Donata. Love it, Jeff. You both helped me very much. There you go. We it's kind of fun, Brian. Sometimes I feel like I'm some kind of celebrity because some firms now have training desks that say greetings and salutations to each other in the morning, and they're asking me to make videos for their test takers who pass. Brian, greetings and salutations from the Series 7 Guru. And they go, what are you going to charge us for that? I'm not going to charge you for that. I mean, and then I just had a conference of a major insurance company, and everybody was talking about the channel and how much it helps their reps. And it looks like I'll be booking a class with them. So that's going to be nice. I like that, Jade. I don't think we got any worries. You're working. Jade, it sounds to me just from our couple posts here that you're dedicated, you're disciplined, and you're organized. And that has more to do with passing these exams than any other thing. If you're dedicated, you're disciplined, you're organized, you're going to get this thing done. Tomorrow afternoon, oh my goodness, this is a champagne problem. There are all kinds of people who wish this was where they were at, right? So you need to get some sleep. Yeah, but last minute advice for everybody is go to bed. You should not be here. Georgia, I'm so glad I see you from LinkedIn. I wasn't sure if I was able to fix the live stream. We had some technical difficulties here earlier. And so I don't know if I got Facebook saved or not. Our primary platform is YouTube, but we love seeing people from LinkedIn. Prior to opening of the options exchange, an investor wishes to place an order to buy an option contract at a premium that is lower than the previous day's close.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think that'd be a limit order, wouldn't you think, Brian?
Absolutely. It's a buy limit. Yeah.
When price is your priority.
Buying lower, that's slob and bliss.
Buy limit. Put in a buy limit. Yeah.
Buy limit's below the market. Yeah.
I love it, Jennifer. That's exactly. ABC has just closed at 70.50. A customer has an open order on the firm's internal order system to sell short 100 shares of ABC at 71. Sell short 100 shares. It's a sell limit. Okay. It goes X. Well, we don't adjust orders above the market because there's no way, Georgia, they would be triggered. Right. So this is above the market price. The whole thing about the reducing of the orders is bliss. Buy limits and sell stops are the ones that get reduced, not a sell limit. So the next morning, it's going to be the same thing. It's going to be 100 shares sell at 71. Right. We only reduce orders below the market because it'll go down by the X date, and that might automatically trigger. Now, if you don't want us to do that, then you tell us DNR. That stands for do not resuscitate. No, that means do not reduce.
Do not reduce.
2 months, how much harder is the 7? Well, much harder. How long ago did you take the 7? So here we go with negative.
That's a good question.
Negative vibes. When people are at risk on 24, I'm working with somebody right now, and I'm pretty straightforward with them. If it's been years since you took a 7, and you're a packaged product person, the 24 can be a serious challenge. And you need to overlearn finance, banking, and you need to overlearn trading. So it's much harder than the 7. And if it's been a long time since you haven't, it's going to be that much harder. Officially passed. The last dragon, right? Hat trick accomplished. Hat trick accomplished. Tomorrow, you got this. I love it. That's exactly right. We're with you in the spirit. I heard from someone. I always get nervous about Post-it stuff. I heard from someone.
I know.
It's fairly new. People used to sit for 6 hours. Yeah, it used to be long ago in a far-off galaxy. The Series 7 was 2 3-hour sessions of 125 questions. It was 250. As much as I've been there. I don't know if I could do the 6 hours, where a lot of people didn't. You know, in those days, we were trying to fail people purposely because we're trying to keep people out of the securities industry. Right? We want to be the few and the proud, not the many and the humble. So that is true. So, Brian, how many times have people said, oh, the SCIE is so hard? I go, well, it's easier than what once was. You know?
Dean and I are both graduates of the Legacy Series 7. We both have taken the 6-hour Series 7. They used to give you a break in between. You don't sit there for 6 hours.
Yeah.
In fact, the last time I took the 7, it took me 52 minutes to finish the first half and 57 minutes to finish.
Same here. When I took it, they were kind of shocked that it was. I scored pretty well those days. You got scores.
Exactly.
That's why I teach this stuff. If I was struggling, it would be really embarrassing. How much harder is the 24? I answered that.
Yeah.
Thank you. There you go. I passed the SIE. Woo! Investment banking. Investment banking, the exam is the 79 that you would take for investment banking. And boy, it's a lot of grunt work at the bottom of that ladder. So, what other should you do? I would say 79, but you need sponsorship. If you're an undergraduate freshman, I would just get your university done and try and get an internship at a firm that does banking. Probably not a bulge bracket firm like Goldman Sachs or Morgan Stanley, or maybe not a bulge bracket firm, maybe a smaller firm like a Jeffries or somewhere where you got to do the grunt work. You're going to learn the banking would be my recommendation.
And I hate to say this, I don't want to be a Debbie Downer, but by the time he graduates from college 3 years from now, his SIE will have expired.
Oh, yeah, well, that's true too.
Unless
I don't say ChatGPT is going to be doing the banking. Past the 65. Woo! Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much, man. We are cleaning up on these super chats. Maybe that's another revenue stream. I guess I got to buy cocktails because it goes into my account, Brian. So I guess the first round's on me from our super
Yes,
chat.
it is.
I passed I think we did that one.
Yeah.
By the way, I got to do better. I think super chat should go to I got to figure out how to put the super chat people at the top so if they have any questions.
Yeah.
Whoop. But we did that one. Who gets disclosures and brochures? Any tips? And how many bond math questions are there on 65? I don't think a lot. You should be able to do current yield for sure. After tax return on a muni for sure. Or after tax, I should say, on a taxable bond. Brochures and disclosures is a big time test fodder. But who and what gets disclosure? The big one's going to be the brochure and its potential clients and clients. Right? That's a big thing. So I would add to that. The two big areas on the half that is laws and regulations is disclosures and unethical business practices. So it's like 20, 25 questions. So I think that's a little broad. Ang, the money girl. I wish I had a little more things, but that question is so broad. Form ADV Part 2 can serve as the brochure for prospective investment advisory clients. It needs to be given to the client. right? And then your math question, 2-3 questions. If you miss, it's got to be math. The disclosures and the brochure goes with disclosure is bigger than the bond math. Your thoughts on that one, Brian?
Yeah, I want to give a 10-minute soliloquy on the textbooks, Series 65 math. It pisses me off to no end.
Yeah, I'm with you. So I wish we could be a little more helpful.
We get those questions every single day.
I don't have an easy thing for that. I mean, the 24 is another kind of slog on that. So I don't, but Lifetime I do. I can help you with Lifetime. For all people who are trying to remember lifetime records of a brokerage firm, the memory aid device is spam. Spam. I would add to that, I'm going to go over what spam stands for in just a moment, but the vast majority of brokerage firm records are 3. Under FINRA, there's only one 4-year record. It's a customer complaint. Items of original entry are 6. Spam stands for stock certificates. Stocks are not of the client's ownership of the firm. So, Jordan Belfort had a firm called Stratton Oakman. You probably saw Wolf of Wall Street. He was banned from the securities industry. So if I see, Briggs Stratton, I go, oh, that smells like Jordan Belfort. Yeah, maybe it's Edward Jones. And they say, well, we're a partnership. I say, okay, smart ass. How about your partnership agreement? That's the P. Who are the partners of the firm? Right? A, articles of incorporation. M is minutes of the directors' meetings. So I think of the 6-year records, Brian, as items of original entry. If I think you're cooking your books, I'm going to ask for, your blotters, your trial balances. That's how I kind of think of that, right? Your general ledger, right? Your stock record of things coming in and out. I guess what I used to try and tell people is memorize 6 and Lifetime, and then everything else goes in the bucket of 3 with the exception of customer complaints. One other thing, customer complaints under MSRB rules are 6, right? So record retention. I have a video, and I call the video 65432, or you can do 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? 6-year records. 5 years are money laundering records. That's 5. I told you customer complaints is 4, 3, and then all records have a 2-year ready access. All records have a 2-year ready access. By the way, Brian, I think that's more testable on 24s and 10s than it is. Yeah. What do you think? 7s and SIEs and that other stuff?
On 7s, there's 1, I think. Mm-hmm. And I don't know anywhere else. Series 63, I know of a question because people don't know what a blotter is. That used to show up on the 63. Yeah. But this is definitely 24 and 10. Absolutely. Okay.
Yeah. Just passed my 65 on Friday. Woo! I opened a refund, just reached QIB. Wow, test question. Qualified institutional buyer is Arthur's way of telling us he's got 100 million or more in assets under management. Well, kudos, Arthur. Kudos. That's right. When we should say, instead of paying us our hourly for the tutoring or watching the videos, maybe we should get a percentage of the assets under management.
There you
go. What's sure if my question was loaded or not? I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it was or not. I don't know if it wasn't. I apologize. Oh, I take my second M. You guys mentioned the formulas don't appear often. No, we didn't say that. Don't appear often in terms of number of performance opportunities. Yes. Are there any formulas you recommend I practice? Yeah, total return. I would be able to do total return as a matter of routine. I would be able to do after-tax return as a matter of routine. I would be able to do current yield as a matter of routine, meaning you can't break a sweat doing it. All right, Brian, it's almost time here for our raffle. Here it is.
Yeah.
In between each CM, once you're on a roll set, I think you should keep rolling. So if you pass your SIE, I think maybe 4-6 weeks on the 7, and then maybe a week and a half on the 63 would be my recommendation. Your thoughts on that one, Brian?
Yeah, you got it.
All right. So if you want to participate, wait, let me get rid of you, Brian, just for a sec, so they can't see what you put on the board, and then I'll do the review. Oh, that's not the right one.
Wrong way.
There we go. And I'll go get our tool, and you tell me. Wait till we get it up there, because if you don't put it exactly as Brian's going to put it on his board, it's not going to work. Okay, Brian, I'm ready for you to put it on the board. Don't put it down until I tell you it's ready to roll. Okay, so let me now put that into the giveaway tool. Boom, boom, boom. Now let me go get the giveaway tool and share that with you guys. Share screen. That's not it. Share screen. There we go. And boom. And there we go. All right. Let me get rid of that. Now, remember, if you win, you do not win tutoring at a date and time of your choice. You win access to that call. So if you'd like to participate, put heat just as you see it into the chat, and we'll do our drawing. We only have one person who wants to participate. That's kind of weird. I'm having technical issues, so maybe it's not quite working the way it should be working.
There we go. We got it.
Oh, here it comes. Okay.
They're coming.
Background's kind of funky too. All right, ready for the spin the wheel of fortune? They're GO bonds, Stephanie. I don't know why people, trust Dean. There's people who disagree with Dean. I am correct. Double barrel bond is the revenues are insufficient. It's going to be the full faith and credit of the municipality. I have a video where I go over double barrel bonds. It's a type of GO. I say, listen, if you break into my home, Stephanie, and I tell you I have a double barreled shotgun, that means if I miss you with the first shot, I'm going to get you with the second shot. I always think here of the Salt Lake Olympic Organizing Committee revenue bonds. Those were double barreled, and the city of Salt Lake said if the revenues from the Olympics are insufficient to pay interest and principal, we, the taxpayers, will. That requires a voter approval. All right. And by the way, Stephanie, same with STC and, Kaplan. There's people who disagree about things. For example, STC and Ken Finnan are both wrong about negative correlation. They say it's just different correlation. That's incorrect because the question is about modern portfolio theory, not what you think about correlation. What does modern portfolio theory say about negative correlation? The answer is it can add additional diversification to the portfolio. Ryan has another perfect question on this. He has a question where he says, which of these, it's a number, will provide either most or least diversification. It's either, least amount would be the one that approximates 1. The least amount or most amount of diversification would be the one that approximates -1. So it's a negative correlation. So same on this double barrel bond, Stephanie. It's like I don't know, what's that we call it in religion? People disagree about certain things. So I would tell you, all right, let's spin the wheel.
Let's do it.
All right, there you go. So deantenneytutoring.setmore.com. Listen, I haven't put up yet the class tab because I do them as I go. So it's not up there yet. It'll be up there either tonight or tomorrow morning for that class tab to collect. And then remember the other free thing that I'll put up there is the weekly Q&A jam session. I have to put up those tabs. I haven't done it. I have them capped, and so when it gets to the cap, it disappears. So nobody more else can register. All right. Well, I say, inch by inch, your exam is a cinch. You say, Brian,
you got to learn to keep it simple. Stay with what you know. You take the test. Don't let the test take you.
All right, everybody. We'll see you next Tuesday. Same bad time, same bad channel.